Hey everybody, welcome to Lunch with Stormy. I'm Stormy Simon. I'm your host, a businesswoman, an e-commerce pioneer, and an outspoken advocate. And that's what leads me to lunch with you every single time. So during COVID, we had, I hope everyone had some sort of awakening experience, whatever that might be for you and however it played out for you. For me, I really took a time out and was very grounded to family and made new reconnections and got more in touch with my personal self than my business self because I'd been in touch with my business self for a minute. On the other hand, I had friends that were like, I have been so inspired by COVID. And I really put, my thoughts into action and I created something great. That's what today's guest did. She actually did that during COVID. So I'm super excited to speak with her. She is also an internet pioneer who did some work early on in the early, the first .com boom, I think that we experienced, and she stayed there. It never gets out of your blood. I can tell you that. She launched digital businesses and, it's still flowing through her blood. I know it. She's also a former NCAA women's soccer star. She's a badass on the field. One more thing, a primetime Emmy Award winner. I love it when guests have these multiple lifetimes. It's amazing. Any one of those things could have stood alone, but oh no, she went further and co-founded and is the CEO of VURBL Media, VURBL Media. And it is one of the largest non-music databases in the United States for streaming audio. And it's got some twists and it's pretty cool. So we'll talk about that. But everyone, let's welcome Audra Gold.
Hi.
In the house. Hi. Thanks for being here.
So nice to meet you finally. I've heard so many great things about you from many of your fans.
Well, I had such a good conversation with your team.
Yeah.
When I was first introduced to VURBL, and now I am actually someone who's on the platform and learning my way through it. So I'm excited to be one of the first.
Yeah, you're one of the early adopters. So thank you.
It's exciting. So I have so much to ask you about your early internet days and all of those fun times. But as I was going through reading about you and your bio, I don't know where you're from. I think you're living in Denver now. Is that right?
No, I'm actually Los Angeles based, where the majority of our team is. I grew up in Colorado though. So that's where I went to school. And so I came out of here, a while back.
When I left Overstock, I went to Colorado for the cannabis business.
Okay.
To go because I thought it was amazing what the governor there did and just bypassed federal laws, decided he was going to take it on. And he really made Denver an amazing, accepting place. I think there's a tempo of Denver that is hard to match anywhere else in the United States.
Yeah. It's a great place. I mean, I miss it all the time. Still go back for skiing. So it's all good.
Right. Well, I'm inspired by you coming from soccer. I don't know what you took in college, and then stumbling into the internet. I have my own story of how I stumbled in. I literally stumbled into something nobody knew anything about, was able to place things together. But what was would you call your first digital job?
Well, it's so hard to say because I'm going to date myself a little bit here, but my class at university was the first class given email. So I went to school, college the first year, really when the public internet was essentially launched. And so, we all started getting email addresses and, you didn't have to be a government employee or whatever. And so I was a freshman when slowly the internet started, just unveiling itself, I'll say. And I became obsessed. I mean, I actually had a boyfriend at the time in the computer science department. And so I would just hang out in the computer science labs all day long because they had these super high speed machines that I could, poke around on the internet with. So I really started learning HTML and building websites like right in the beginning. And we started launching companies too. We had so many ideas right in the beginning with some of my fellow students. And so we launched something, to sell, it was, I don't know, I did a bunch of weird stuff. So I guess you could say that my first digital job was in school, probably sophomore year is when I tried to launch my first business with a team of people that ultimately failed. We were, a little overly ambitious and under-resourced, but yeah, that's kind of where the love affair started.
Well, and when you start that early, it's hard to erase the steps that naturally happen. When you move from like a hard wired database into a cloud, which was part of the internet that I experienced, was like, oh, we got to hardwire everything in hard code. And then all of a sudden you've got this cloud system and it's like, oh, wow, that's really amazing. But it's hard to get it out of your DNA, the steps that you intuitively know, the days before Google, when AOL was literally a dial-up tone.
Yeah.
Those were like our lifetime.
Lycos, Excite, InfoSeek. I mean, that was my place. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. And really, I mean, there was a small crew of us that we were like, oh my God, like everything in the world is going to be running through this thing eventually. Like, this is insane. Like, people don't realize like how important this is. And I remember my family saying, when I got out of school, they're like, why are you going to work in this internet thing? Isn't it just a fad? Isn't it just like a trend that's I was like, bad. I was like, you clearly do not understand what is going on the internet. So yeah, it was a really exciting time. I'm really thankful for that lucky timing that I had in terms of my age. So
it's true, because those that missed it. So even like my granddaughter, who's quite young, but she's 8. And I was telling her one day, she's like, oh, I need a new tablet, which is insane that these kids just think they have to have a tablet to survive. But she was like, I need a new tablet. And I said, I did not have a tablet growing up. We didn't have tablets. And she was like, yes, you did. And I said, no, we didn't have screens that we interacted with. She was like, yes, you did. And she literally walked away saying that, thinking that I was teasing her, because their concept of before and after, there's no way to explain what it was like to wait for the mail to come in the mailbox and then get the information and ask your mom if you could use the phone to dial long distance. It's just, it doesn't appear with them any longer. So timing is definitely everything.
I know.
And you did, what was it? Product N? Is that your product management?
Yeah. So my whole career was basically digital product management, which for those of you that don't know what that is, it is basically the person that kind of oversees the kind of the business requirements of building something, digital, and works with engineering to get it implemented, works with design, works with sales to make sure you're building something they can sell. And so you're kind of sitting in the middle of the organization. And I love it. It's the only job I've ever really had. And I became really experienced at it. And so I decided to launch a firm a couple years ago. It was actually almost 4 years ago now, to work with a venture capital firm and advise their early stage startups on product market fit, coming up with a minimum viable product, and then helping them staff and resource that and figure out with the money they had, what they could build and how fast they could build it. And we'd put together go-to-market plans. So yeah, that was what I was doing when I got the idea for VURBL. And we kind of spun VURBL out of Product N. So.
Oh, I love that. So people that don't know what product managers are, so there's all these new titles in industries that the internet allowed us to have, right? And I remember in the beginning, we had business system analysts, and they would talk to, the developers, and then talk to the business stakeholders and try to communicate in between. The product manager of a company or the management team has probably become one of the most important pieces of any company, because we're all digital now, we're all online now. But the ability, you can't have every business person speak a technical language, and every developer, sometimes they don't even want to speak. They, they're good at what they do. They like quiet, they like getting down to business. And so it's a super, it doesn't surprise me that that's what sparked you to do something else, because working in that environment, you've got to just hear the ideas, think of the connections, and then, it's so creative.
Yes, you get exposed to every aspect of the organization, and you really start, and you see from the ground level, like what really drives the business, right? Because you're the one looking at those metrics every day. And so I think you get a very unique perspective in product management. And I tell anyone who wants to build a business someday, I say, you should start in product management because you're going to learn everything you need to know about a business typically in that position. So
I always said you need to be an assistant to the president. That's how I started. I would be like, I would come in as assistants to CEOs, and that was my college education. I learned about so many industries and businesses that way, and kind of how it all worked. So I did the same thing. Now I mentioned that you had won a primetime Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. What was that for?
Pretty random, right? How many tech people do you know? I was actually at a startup. We were a very well-funded startup about, it was like 10 years ago now, called Fourth Wall Studios. And we were building the first interactive video platform that actually had a second screen synced up experience. And it ended up, I was the head of product. So I was the named in the credits for the product, as the product head. And it was the first digital primetime Emmy, the first year for that category. And we submitted one of the shows that we did on the platform called Dirty Work. And we beat Discovery, we beat Condé Nast, and we were just this little startup because we had really this amazing tool that you could actually hold your phone. This was 10 years ago, so it was very novel back then. And you basically would watch the show, and if the person on the character in the show got a call, you could listen in on the call on your phone, or you would get text messages or something.
Oh, wow.
Synced up with the main screen. And so it was pretty novel, and we were the first to do a lot of what we were doing at that startup. And so I think that's what elevated us amongst these bigger players. So that was pretty cool.
Innovation wins. And did you get the trophy? Like, you have it?
No, we only got 4 of them for the team, and there was about 15 of us named, that won the actual Emmy. So we got certificates. So I have an Emmy certificate. Yes,
that counts too. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Did you so as a woman in your navigation of most industries have been male dominated over the years. Tech was definitely in the beginning, for some reason, whatever, there were more male developers than female developers, like those actually writing the code. Did you find or have any mentors within an industry nobody really knew about? Did you find it, there was anything difficult about being a woman and going in and leading there? Did you have to break through? I know I have my own stories in this.
Anything difficult is understatement of the century. Yes, I talk about this a lot. So, I have spent my entire career pretty much just working with men for the most part. There's been very few females around, period, much less a female mentor. I started my career in digital media with the kind of properties I was working with were games, right? Gaming and a lot of male subject matters. I went on to build online games, and then I was in viral video. I was with a very male dominated kind of audiences. And so therefore, I guess that's why I was always surrounded by men, and quite frankly, I've always been the only female at the executive table as well. And so, of course, I felt a lot of not only pressure, but I felt a lot of, all the things that you hear from a lot of females in tech is marginalization, right? Constantly watching, your male peers get promoted above you with much less experience because they have the relationships of going out to drinks with the CEO, right? They have different dynamics that always tend to work for, when there's, same gender, and against when it's too different. I think it's changed a lot, honestly. You have to remember, I started my career in 99. So, I'm thankful that I'm getting to see this younger generation of women, I think, treated much more fairly. And I think it's just much less of a big deal. Although I still hear all the time that people feel marginalized and passed over and things like that. And of course, as a young woman back, also coming up, I had an extraordinary amount of sexual harassment that I just kind of, always turned a cheek to and just said, I want to stay in this line of business. I don't want to leave. I'm just going to put up with it. And I think that was more my generation kind of had to take that attitude, or we thought we did. The new generation, I see pushing back, which I'm also so proud of them for. And really, you know, the Me Too movement, I think was a massive, massive game changer for everyone around me that I knew in the space. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, to say the least.
And I think you said something really interesting, is that you thought you had to tolerate it, but the truth is we did.
Yeah.
Like I think back to as a female leader, and some of the things like I did shrug a shoulder to, or I laughed off, or whatever, or leveraged. You know, for those of you listening only on audio, Audra looks like Katherine Heigl, or Hegel, whatever her name is.
So funny.
You know, very attractive, which can sometimes take away from your business sense when you're in a room, sometimes depending on who you're in the room with. I don't know. It's just
yeah, there was some pretty
weird things sometimes.
And
it's hard to talk about because, you know, you're not a victim. I was never a victim, but you do tolerate it. And every time I question, like I should have stuck up right there, and, you know, those things ring with me too. I always think I never would have gotten to where I was. The timing wasn't right.
I say the same. There's no way I would have kept any job or gotten another job if I had ever filed a claim on, you know, in sexual harassment. The tech world's very small. It used to be much smaller, as you can imagine. Yeah. The internet world was pretty tiny back then, so everyone kind of knew everyone in town, and yeah, it would have been probably a career ender had I really done anything about it. But
I agree, but it is great to watch now, isn't it? It's amazing to see.
I know. I love this next generation. They're so tough, and they're, you know, they just. I think it's great for them that they have a whole different kind of situation they're walking into out of school, typically. So.
Yep. And the power, you know, to belong in the room.
Absolutely.
Power to belong in the room. I think that this generation takes the hit of like, oh shit, we got to go get a female. We got to fill this spot. We need a chick. We need to, you know, anybody, you know, and we'll take that. That's where our marginalization comes in. That's where we just go walk in a room and fill the seat because we have to. But we have to do that as well. Yeah. In order for this next generation to they won't be marginalized. You know, my sons are amazing businessmen, and they are also, you know, they were raised by a strong woman, so they don't know how to be in a room without them. They're, you know, they're more comfortable with them around them.
Sure.
And so I think that the punches we took were worth it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I have no regrets. It's just that to me, that was just the way it was. And that's why there's so few of us left in tech, is what I always say. I'm like, most of the women I started my career with are long gone out of tech. They did not make the long haul. So which is sad, but now there's a lot more young people coming up, I think, that are women. And
yeah, far more diversified. We had 25% female developers at Overstock, and that was a lot.
Wow. That's amazing. I think I've usually had maybe one or two on a team of, you know, dozens to hundreds.
Yep. Yeah. We worked hard at it. We'd bring people up from within the company and, you know, give them the skills to see if that was a career they were interested in. And then we had the whole training program to support them through it.
That's amazing.
So it was good. So after all the punches, all the bruises, all the achievements, all the Emmys, all the certificates.
Yeah, right.
COVID hits, you're all locked in LA. I was there too. I ran home to Utah.
I just couldn't believe the luck. It's like, okay, I've been like, you know, waiting my whole life for this moment. Basically, we literally got our first check from our lead investor. I still had a lot more money to raise. I had been pitching, you know, January, February, getting a lot of people excited about what we were going to build. I had my deck and my team that I wanted to hire, ready to go. And then, I mean, as February started looking worse and worse, I was really nervous. You know, we incorporated the company February 14th, got the first check in March 16th.
Ooh, that's the day after it locked down, isn't it?
The day we got put into a stay-at-home order in LA. And I mean, nobody knew. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. You know, we were all like, I don't know. Is this the end? I mean, what?
That holding pattern where you're like, do I work? Do I stay home? Am I on vacation?
Yeah, and I was working in the offices of our lead investor, Alpha Edison. We had an office set up in there, kind of an incubator style thing, and I went and talked to my lead investor there, and he's just like kind of shell shocked too. Everybody was. He's like, all I can say is just preserve your cash, like keep pitching and preserve your cash. And I was like, oh man, so we had a little bit of money to go. We just needed to, get as far as we could, as fast as we could, while I continued to raise money. I must have pitched, first I was pitching before the lockdown. By the time lockdown hit, almost every VC in town, almost every angel investor stopped taking meetings for about 1 month to 2 months, because they needed to internally figure out what's our strategy during this time. Is the world ending or is it not? Like, so I couldn't get another check until like 3 months. So we came this close to running out of money. And I mean, I've never been through something that stressful in my life, and convinced a bunch of the team to work without pay just to get us a little further along. And I mean, it was just one thing after the next, and we were just scrappy as hell, and got a little bit of the platform built, enough that I could convince other people that we can actually build what we're saying we're going to build. And then the rest of the money came in like the end of the summer. So by the skin of our teeth, we're here.
Best. And then your team loves you. Like the women that I spoke with when I was just learning about VURBL, before we were even doing this interview, but just learning about your company, they're great. They were so excited and enthusiastic. And it's always, as a person that was fortunate enough to be a part of a startup and have it be successful, and just knowing what that bond is like in the beginning, you're lucky.
You got to have a lot of trust in each other. That's probably the main thing. And you're married, you're a family, and that's it. Like, it's just, everybody's, just there to push the ball forward together. So.
And then on VURBL, it's like YouTube. I think I've read something where it's like a YouTube audio version of YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. And, what we saw missing in most of my team comes from the video space, the video streaming space. And so we've spent our careers understanding how humans online consume, share, look for video, right? Which is very similar to audio in a lot of ways. And as a part of pushing a lot of, tech forward in the video space, a lot of ad tech, especially, and built a lot of ad products to monetize video products. And what I saw in audio is that it stagnated. It really kind of got stuck in the old days, the way that we were distributing it and the way that we were consuming it and the way that we were monetizing it. It really looked a lot like what we did with video in 2006, 2007, around that time frame. And I'm like, why is audio so far behind video in every way? Meaning it, for a vast majority of it in the podcasting space is a progressive download. We're still doing it mostly native advertising or dynamic insertion advertising, which is a very, undesirable way compared to real-time advertising for a lot of reasons. Anyway, and then the way that it was just kind of spread all around, no one had created a centralized hub for audio and user-generated audio the way that YouTube did for video. And so I really just saw it as like the biggest opportunity I've ever seen on the internet. It's a huge unsolved problem that we know how to solve, because we solve many of these same problems in the video space. So that's how the plan kind of became very clear to me, exactly what needs to be done. I knew how to do it, and I just needed the team and money, of course. So, yeah.
Now, what would you say is your difference? So we have Clubhouse is this new app that's out there. I mean, people are just hearing about it. It's almost like live.
Yeah, it's like a social network for audio, basically.
Yeah, but it's like you can join a room and hear somebody talk and be a lot of people in it, but it's all live, not recorded, not. So what is, and yours is very different. That's why I want to give you the opportunity to actually compare, because
sure. Yeah, so we've collected all of the kind of open source public domain audio, plus we allow users to upload audio directly. We've picked up directories of RSS feeds of different, podcasts and other kinds of content that's distributed via RSS. And we've put them all under a unified taxonomy, made it easy to find. We stream everything except for podcasts, because podcasts require their third-party host download counts. So we don't stream podcasts unless you are a partner of ours. We'll stream your podcast so we can advertise around it. But yeah, so we've collected every type of non-music audio that we could find on the internet. We have over 35 million titles now, and that's everything in books, ASMR. We've got speeches and so much archival and a bunch of nonprofit archives of people talking, and we have background ambient music, we meditation content, and it's all free. And we intend to keep everything free for creators and listeners for the foreseeable future. And the way that we can do that is via the YouTube model, which is that we say, hey, creators, if you're good enough, if you have enough followers and you have enough streams, you can monetize your content just by clicking a button, and we'll start running ads around it, and we'll give you a revenue share on that. And really, there's never been an easier way to upload audio and publish it out to the internet and get it into instantly indexed and instantly shareable and portable, embeddable anywhere. But we've also made it really easy, kind of a clear path to how do I monetize this? You don't have to go sell your own native ads. You don't have to go, become part of a big publishing network after you get 50,000 downloads a month. We make it just very simple, just like what YouTube does for YouTubers, which is you're in charge of your own destiny. If you make great content, you know how to find your audience, which we give you all sorts of tools to find your audience, then you're golden. All you have to do is flip a switch and you can start earning money. So really, it's anyone who has anything to say or any kind of content to sell, in the audio format, we can help you find your audience. And we work with very long tail. We have over 300 categories of content, and that grows every week. So pretty much any weird subject you might be talking about, or, we'll find a place for you, and we'll make sure that people looking for that long tail thing can find you. And we do that with search optimization. We do that with curation. We do that with social sharing and a lot of other types of tools that we've all been using in video for years.
So when people that are listening, this idea of search. So coming out, like thinking of YouTube and its interface. So I've been on VURBL, and I really want to talk about the interface, because being, Overstock was found, I keep going back to it, but there's these moments of internet that matter. Mm-hmm. Overstock was founded in 1999 on this hard coded spaghetti code. It was like a spaghetti code that went for a mile long. It was unbelievable when we actually rolled out the piece of paper, but, it gives the moment. So we had to unravel a bunch of stuff to get into cloud and have adaptable and modular type of technologies. But someone like Wayfair, who was like coming in the market a little later, they're just like, hey, I'm going to plug and play this. It gave them the opportunity to do things better, to have a user interface, to see how consumers react and go, you know what, I'm going to cater to them. That's what VURBL's done. Yeah. So when you think of a YouTube for audio, and being able to find what you're looking for, that's the key online, finding what you're looking for. You can have a million products, but if you don't show me my red couch, I don't care how many products you have.
Yeah. Here's the other piece that a lot of people forget about. Not only do you have to be able to find it, but you need to be able to have something your fan base can share too. Because if you think about how much awareness and traffic that social sends today and how distributed your content needs to be able to be, right? With sharing, you've got to be able to take, that's why we gave listeners and creators this ability to clip a small piece of something so that it's very social friendly. That gets you, not only now are you promoting yourself, now you can get an army of your fans taking clips they love and sharing them out too. It's totally amplifying your ability to reach people fast and really efficiently, because these are fans advocating for you, probably to other people like them. It's a perfect, and so there's never been a way to do that in the audio space. There's never been an easy way to share podcasts. There's so clunky. You got to share the whole thing. You got to download it and then scrub to minute 30 to get to the good thing your friend's talking about, right? And that's not realistic. That's not following human behavioral patterns online. That's counter human behavior online. And so we were really just, like you said, we're looking at models that have worked in every other type of content format. We're just emulating and taking best practices and putting it out into the audio space. It's not like, yeah, we don't have to reinvent.
And making them better. I mean,
Well,
there's
yeah,
definitely improvements.
yeah,
It's a great interface. Like folks should know. It's better than how podcast platforms are sorted. It's better than how YouTube's sorted, actually. It's got some intuitiveness to it. It's not difficult. I'm a content creator, and I'm just now figuring out how to get my content up, but also figuring out what my content is, because this is a new platform for me too. Yes, I have the podcasts, you know, and that's the easy one. Yes. But there are these other, you know, tools and ways to get my voice or my opinion, whatever it is, out there. And, you know, I got to figure out who that is for me, which has been interesting and fun.
And Stormy, one of the coolest things we have coming out actually with our mobile app that's going to be out in a few short weeks here. We've turned your mobile app, basically the VURBL mobile app, it's just you can now just open it up and turn it into a microphone. You can record in real time. You might be at an event, you have something to say about, you might be out on the street capturing, you know, a moment in time. You might be just really excited to talk about something, and you can just turn your, you know, click record, save it. It's on your channel. It's on your station seconds later, and you can now make it findable. And you know, it'll go out in notifications to all of your followers, and somebody can share it. You know, anyone can start sharing it on social. So it's just like an instant way to publish your thoughts in a very simple way. You know, you don't have to worry about camera and all, you know, all the things that we can do in video. You just open up your mic and start talking, and it's out there in the world as fast as you want it to be. So.
That is so great. I didn't know that. Did that just come out? Oh, it's coming with the mobile. That's why.
Coming soon, and anyone can hit me up on any of my socials like LinkedIn or Twitter. And if you wanted to be a tester, we're letting anyone who raises their hand install the test app because it's very close to being ready. So
I'm raising my hand, by the way. I would love to do this.
We'll get you on there for sure. And it's going to be a game changer for publishing, because that's what we all talk about, right? It's like, how do you get audio onto the internet? Oh, well, you got to go find an app and download it, or you do this voice record thing, and then you have to save it, and then you have to go find it and upload it. It's like, we're just making it really easy to turn on and publish.
It's so easy. That's so smart. Thinking that through. That's brilliant. That's a game changer.
Yeah, and then that parlays really nicely into live streaming, which we'll be launching later this year. You know, so all of these things are just building into a story that's really going to make us what I foresee to be the biggest audio site in the world.
Yes, Queen, get 'em. Yeah, and our team is great. How can people sign up for VURBL today?
So just go to VURBL, VURBL.com. And just, you know, click sign up or start to upload, and we'll ask you to log in. But it's really easy to create an account. It's 3 quick steps, and we even ask you what your favorite categories are of audio, and we'll auto subscribe you to a bunch of interesting things based on what you enjoy. And and you'll be off to the races, and then you'll be notified as soon as our mobile apps are out. So
I got my notifications. They're great. They're beautiful, and they were relevant to what I had signed up for. I'm going through the app like a user first, and then I'm going to start get familiar and have this conversation was actually part of my strategy. It's like, I'm going to load my stuff up after. I'm going to ask some good questions, but I really did want both the user and the creator experience. It gets cooler all the time. Like, I've got to say, my notifications today were ones that I was like, okay, I've got to check this. I went and added one to my station, you know, like, oh, I get it. So I'm starting to understand. That's what I meant when I said earlier, it's intuitive. That's my dog. It's intuitive in the sense of like, I'm learning how to use it even before our conversation. Like, oh, I get it. I got to do this. I see this. And the relevance of those tools are really good.
Yeah, and we have so many more cool things coming out. I'm just really excited. Over the next 6 months, you're going to see some really fun new features and better search. We've got better search coming soon. We keep improving our search algorithms and things like that. So everything's getting better.
And then you mentioned LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you're Audra Gold, right?
Yep.
Audra Gold.
Yep.
Like everything she touches. And on Twitter and Insta, it's Get VURBL, VURBL, Get VURBL. And, you know, this is exciting. This is exciting for every single one of us. You know, it is exciting as creators. I feel like I'm in a place, maybe there is a ground floor and like maybe I could figure something out. And I'm also consuming a lot more content audibly.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've been listening to things I never could have imagined even knowing about 6 months ago. There's so much cool stuff if you just start digging around. And I follow some really great stations, and so I'm getting notifications every time they're uploading new things. And so it's been fun for me too. I mean, look, we didn't even anticipate having nearly as much content as we have. I can't believe how many amazing, you know, kind of obscure databases of great information in the audio format are coming out of retirement and getting published on VURBL. So
I can't wait. Yeah. I literally can't wait to go dig around some more and to get my own content up and start utilizing it. I've been work from home. It's like everything's exposed.
Yeah.
So that's where people can find you. What is there any advice you give to budding entrepreneurs? Or, you know, it can be such a cheesy question, but there is something, you know, you even said something that, you know, you said, we're just looking for people to raise their hand. I say that all the time. I'm just like, raise your hand and then, you know, ask the question. Don't be afraid to ask the question. Don't be afraid to volunteer.
Yeah.
And then you know, or be curious and then you step forward just by doing this.
Yeah.
What's, you know, do you have anything
I mean, what I always tell people, they don't always want to hear it, especially the young ones, but I say, you know what, experience. You gotta do a lot. You gotta try a lot. You gotta learn a lot. And that's really your best hedge against failure. If you're launching a company, the more wisdom you have about your business and how to build things and how the world works, quote unquote, you know, the better off you're going to be when you're finally building something that you're owning, you know. And if you're starting your own company, you'll never do anything more difficult, but you know, you can prepare yourself by just knowing a heck of a lot about what you're doing. So I think that's always my
hard work matters. You know, I think it gets forgotten, but by saying that experience, it reminded me of, you know, when people were like, how do you work with millennials? How can you motivate them? I thought it was the craziest thing, but we did have one girl that said, I don't work Fridays. I refuse to work Fridays. I'm 23 years old. I don't work Fridays. I go ski. We hired her boss about 4 or 5 times, but she skied every Friday, you know? So it's like experience, hard work. What do you really want? Those types of questions.
Yeah, hard work goes without saying. I mean, I don't know anyone who's really ever gotten anywhere without a heck of a lot of hard work. So
without working on Fridays.
Not working on Fridays.
You got to work on Fridays.
Yeah, exactly. Some things are required. No.
Yeah, still it's a 7-day work week now, everybody. Just so you know, you don't get any day off. Well, I have completely enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know VURBL and your team, and I'm hopeful that, you know, I know our paths will cross again, but I'm just a fan, and I plan to be in touch with your team and figure out ways to, you know, work together and work on promoting VURBL for all it can be.
And we're here to help. I want everyone to always walk away knowing VURBL is all about the audio creator. We're about elevating voice and connecting you with people that care about what you're saying. And so in that way, you know, we'll train you and we'll help you. We have lots of team members that can support you in whatever, you know, you want to try to do on VURBL. So just never hesitate to reach out.
Like, I'm going to reach out right away because I love help.
We have a team waiting for you. We're gonna.
Can't wait.
Yes.
You're the best. Thank you so much for being here. And let's circle back in like, I don't know, 6 months, or if you do a big, you know, if you release something new, let me know and we'll come back and talk again and see what's happening.
And especially around our live streaming product, we'll
live stream.
We want to work with some great creators. We're going to hand pick because, you know, live stream, it's going to be a very select group that can live stream. So love to have you on that pilot as well.
Yay, I'm raising my hand.
Awesome.
I love that. That's the best.
Yeah, great.
Love meeting goddesses that make things happen, and you're one of them. So thanks for that.
Thank you. And,
All
and
right.
I really appreciate your time and letting me, get VURBL out there. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, we're all going to appreciate your work. I can promise you that. Thanks everybody for listening and meeting Audra. You can find her at the handles that we've mentioned. Get VURBL, VURBL on social channels is where you find it. Go sign up, be a creator or be a listener. But either way, I'm pretty sure you're going to use VURBL. You can find Lunch with Stormy on all the podcasts and VURBL. So let's see how this all unwinds together. And thanks for joining me and Audra. Yay! Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
Hey everybody, welcome to Lunch with Stormy. I'm Stormy Simon. I'm your host, a businesswoman, an e-commerce pioneer, and an outspoken advocate. And that's what leads me to lunch with you every single time. So during COVID, we had, I hope everyone had some sort of awakening experience, whatever that might be for you and however it played out for you. For me, I really took a time out and was very grounded to family and made new reconnections and got more in touch with my personal self than my business self because I'd been in touch with my business self for a minute. On the other hand, I had friends that were like, I have been so inspired by COVID and I really put, my thoughts into action and I created something great. That's what today's guest did. She actually did that during COVID. So I'm super excited to speak with her. She is also an internet pioneer who did some work early on in the early, the first .com boom, I think that we experienced, and she stayed there. It never gets out of your blood. I can tell you that. She launched digital businesses and, it's still flowing through her blood. I know it. She's also a former NCAA women's soccer star. She's a badass on the field. One more thing, a primetime Emmy Award winner. I love it when guests have these multiple lifetimes. It's amazing. Any one of those things could have stood alone, but oh no,